My husband left me for his assistant while I raised his kids, so I showed up to his office with one paper that erased his career. I'm 35, and for 7 years I thought I was living the dream as a wife and stepmother in what appeared to be the perfect blended family. My husband Gregory was a successful financial advisor who owned his own wealth management firm while I dedicated myself to raising his 2 children from his previous marriage. Sophia was 12 when I married Gregory and Lucas was 9. Their biological mother had abandoned them when they were toddlers, leaving Gregory to raise them as a single father until I came into their lives. From the beginning, I threw myself into being the mother those children had never really had. I attended every school event, helped with homework projects, organized birthday parties, and made sure they felt loved and supported in ways their biological mother never provided. I quit my job as a marketing manager to focus entirely on our family because Gregory's work demanded long hours and frequent travel for client meetings. Gregory's business had been struggling when we first met, but my background in marketing and client relations helped him transform his small practice into a thriving firm. I redesigned his marketing materials, developed his social media presence, and helped him network with potential high-net-worth clients. Within 3 years of our marriage, his annual revenue had tripled, and he was managing over $50 million in client assets. The children and I developed a genuine, loving relationship that went far beyond typical step-parent dynamics. I was the one who taught Sophia about makeup and dating when she became a teenager. I was the one who coached Lucas through his anxiety about middle school and helped him discover his passion for photography. They called me mom without any prompting and considered me their real parent in every way that mattered. Gregory seemed grateful for everything I brought to his life, both personally and professionally. He'd tell clients and friends that marrying me was the best decision he'd ever made and that I'd transformed his family and business beyond recognition. He credited me with helping him become the father he'd always wanted to be and the successful businessman he dreamed of becoming. But about 2 years ago, I started noticing changes in Gregory's behavior that made me uncomfortable. He hired a new assistant named Priscilla who was 26 years old and seemed to have an unusually close working relationship with him. He started staying late at the office more frequently and taking business trips that didn't seem to generate new clients or revenue for the firm. Priscilla was everything I wasn't: young, single, childless, and completely focused on advancing her career. She had a finance degree from a prestigious university and ambitions to become a financial advisor herself. Gregory began praising her work ethic and intelligence in ways that felt excessive for someone in an administrative support role. The red flags became harder to ignore when Gregory started excluding me from business functions where spouses were typically included. He'd say that certain events were too boring or professional for me to enjoy, but I'd later see photos on social media showing Priscilla accompanying him to client dinners and industry conferences. He was treating his assistant like his professional partner while relegating me to purely domestic duties. I tried discussing my concerns with Gregory, but he dismissed them as jealousy and insecurity. He said that Priscilla was an excellent employee who was helping him expand the business and that I should be supportive of his professional success rather than creating problems based on unfounded suspicions. He made me feel like I was being paranoid and possessive. The children started noticing Gregory's increased absences and his distracted behavior when he was home. Sophia asked me why Dad seemed to care more about work than family time, and Lucas wondered why Dad never helped with homework anymore. I made excuses for Gregory trying to protect the children from adult problems while privately becoming more concerned about our marriage. Everything changed 6 months ago when Gregory announced that he wanted a divorce. He said that our marriage had run its course and that we'd grown apart over the years. He claimed that he needed freedom to focus on his career and personal growth without the responsibilities of family life. He presented the divorce as a mutual decision, even though I'd had no input in making it. The truth about Gregory's relationship with Priscilla became obvious when they started appearing together publicly within weeks of our separation. He moved in with her immediately and began introducing her to clients as his business partner rather than his assistant. The affair that he denied so vehemently was suddenly on full display for everyone to see. What devastated me most was Gregory's attempt to minimize my role in his success and the children's lives. He started telling people that our marriage had been a mistake and that I'd been more of a burden than a help to his career development. He rewrote our history to make himself look like the victim of an unhappy marriage rather than the cheating husband who'd abandoned his family. The children were heartbroken by Gregory's betrayal and confused about why he was choosing his assistant over the family we'd built together. They couldn't understand how the man who'd claimed to love them unconditionally could suddenly prioritize his relationship with a woman who had no interest in being their stepmother. The divorce proceedings became a nightmare when Gregory decided to fight for primary custody of Sophia and Lucas despite having shown minimal interest in parenting during our marriage. He claimed that as their biological father he had superior rights, and that I was just a step-parent with no legal standing. His sudden interest in custody seemed motivated more by spite than genuine concern for the children's well-being. Gregory hired an expensive family law attorney and began painting me as an unstable woman who'd become obsessively attached to children who weren't biologically mine. He suggested that my devotion to Sophia and Lucas was unhealthy and that they needed to reconnect with their real father without my interference. The legal strategy was designed to erase 7 years of genuine motherhood. What made the custody battle particularly cruel was Gregory's willingness to use the children's emotions as weapons against me. He told them that I was trying to keep them away from him and that our divorce was primarily my fault. He manipulated their loyalty by suggesting that choosing me over him would be a betrayal of their biological family bonds. Priscilla played an active role in Gregory's campaign to gain custody despite having no experience with children and no genuine interest in parenting. She attended court hearings and family evaluations, presenting herself as a stable influence who could provide the children with a better home environment. Her youth and professional success were positioned as advantages over my role as a dedicated stepmother. The most devastating aspect of the custody battle was watching Gregory systematically destroy the family relationships I'd spent years building. He encouraged the children to view our 7-year bond as temporary and replaceable while positioning himself as their permanent and irreplaceable parent. He was willing to traumatize them emotionally to win a legal victory against me. During court proceedings, Gregory's attorney argued that I'd overstepped my boundaries as a step-parent and had inappropriately tried to replace the children's biological mother. They portrayed my love and dedication as manipulation and suggested that the children would be healthier without my continuing influence in their lives. Every act of motherhood was reframed as evidence of instability. The children were forced to speak with court-appointed counselors and family evaluators who asked probing questions about their preferences and loyalties. Sophia and Lucas were traumatized by having to choose between the father they barely knew and the mother who'd raised them. Gregory's selfishness was destroying their sense of security and family belonging. I fought back by documenting my years of involvement in every aspect of the children's lives, from school records showing me as their emergency contact to medical records listing me as their primary caregiver. I had photo albums full of family memories and testimonials from teachers, coaches, and friends who recognized me as their real mother in every meaningful sense. But the legal system prioritized biological relationships over genuine caregiving, which gave Gregory significant advantages despite his years of absent parenting. The court seemed to believe that DNA connections were more important than daily love and support when determining what was best for the children. The turning point came when 16-year-old Sophia found the courage to tell the court that she wanted to live with me rather than her biological father. She testified that Gregory had been absent for most of her childhood and that I was the only mother she'd ever really known. Her brave testimony helped Lucas find his voice to express similar preferences. But even with the children's clear statements about their desires, Gregory continued fighting for custody. He seemed determined to win at any cost, regardless of the emotional damage he was causing. His priorities were clearly about defeating me rather than protecting Sophia and Lucas from trauma. The custody battle revealed Gregory's true character in ways that shocked even me despite knowing about his affair. He was willing to traumatize his own children and destroy their sense of family security despite the woman who dedicated her life to their well-being. His cruelty knew no bounds when his ego was threatened. During this period, I learned disturbing information about Gregory's business practices that he'd hidden from me throughout our marriage. His rapid success hadn't been entirely legitimate, and his treatment of clients was sometimes questionable. The man I'd helped build into a successful businessman was actually engaging in practices that could destroy his career if exposed. While organizing financial documents for the divorce proceedings, I discovered information about Gregory's business that revealed serious ethical violations and potential legal problems. As his wife, I'd been given access to certain business records and had helped with administrative tasks that gave me insight into his client relationships and investment strategies. The most damaging discovery was evidence that Gregory had been engaging in unauthorized trading in client accounts to generate higher commissions for himself. He'd been making investment decisions without proper client consent and had been churning accounts to increase his fee income. These practices violated securities regulations and could result in criminal charges if reported to regulatory authorities. I also found documentation showing that Gregory had been misrepresenting his credentials and experience to prospective clients. He'd been claiming advanced certifications that he didn't actually possess and had been exaggerating his track record of investment performance. His marketing materials contained false information that constituted securities fraud. More disturbing was evidence that Gregory had been borrowing money from client accounts to cover business expenses and personal costs. He'd been treating client funds as his personal bank account with the intention of repaying the money before anyone noticed. This constituted theft regardless of his plans to replace the funds eventually. The financial records also revealed that much of Gregory's apparent business success was built on unsustainable practices that were destined to collapse eventually. He was operating a sophisticated schemes that generated short-term profits while creating long-term liabilities that would eventually destroy his clients' portfolios and his own reputation. I realized that Gregory's affair with Priscilla wasn't just about personal betrayal, it was also about business survival. She was helping him cover up his illegal activities and was probably planning to help him escape consequences when his schemes inevitably collapsed. Their relationship was as much about crime as it was about romance. The timing of Gregory's divorce request made more sense when I understood that he was preparing for his business empire to crumble. He was trying to protect his assets by divorcing me before his legal problems became public knowledge. He was planning to leave me with nothing while he and Priscilla escaped with whatever money they could steal. This discovery changed my perspective on the custody battle entirely. Gregory wasn't fighting for the children because he loved them, he was fighting to maintain his image as a family man while his professional reputation collapsed. He needed to appear stable and responsible to avoid regulatory scrutiny of his business practices. I also realized that my years of helping Gregory build his business had made me complicit in some of his illegal activities, even though I'd been unaware of their true nature. My marketing efforts had helped him attract clients who were now being defrauded, and my administrative support had facilitated some of his unauthorized trading activities. The evidence I discovered was comprehensive enough to destroy Gregory's career and potentially send him to prison. He'd been violating federal securities laws for years and had stolen hundreds of thousands of dollars from client accounts. The regulatory authorities would be very interested in this information. But I also knew that exposing Gregory's crimes would have serious consequences for his clients who would lose their investments, and for the children who would see their father destroyed publicly. I had to carefully consider whether revealing this information was worth the collateral damage it would cause to innocent people. The decision became easier when I learned that Gregory was planning to liquidate his business and disappear with client funds rather than face the consequences of his actions. He was preparing to abandon his clients, his children, and his responsibilities while starting over somewhere else with Priscilla and stolen money. That's when I decided that Gregory needed to face justice for his crimes and that the children deserved to know the truth about their father's character. I began preparing a comprehensive report that would expose every aspect of his illegal business activities and ensure that he couldn't escape accountability for his actions. I spent 2 weeks carefully organizing all the evidence of Gregory's securities violations and preparing a comprehensive complaint to submit to the Securities and Exchange Commission. The document included detailed financial records, unauthorized trading confirmations, and evidence of client fund misappropriation that painted a clear picture of systematic fraud spanning several years. The complaint also included documentation of Gregory's false advertising and credential misrepresentation, along with evidence that he'd been operating his business without proper regulatory oversight. I discovered that several of his claimed certifications were completely fabricated and that he'd never passed the required examinations for financial advisors. But I wanted to deliver this information in a way that would maximize the impact on Gregory's career and reputation. Simply mailing the complaint to regulatory authorities would be effective, but wouldn't provide the immediate satisfaction of seeing his reaction when his world collapsed around him. That's when I decided to make a personal visit to Gregory's office during business hours when clients and employees would witness his downfall. I wanted him to experience the same public humiliation that he'd subjected me to when he flaunted his affair with Priscilla in front of our entire community. I scheduled the visit for a Tuesday afternoon when I knew Gregory would be meeting with potential clients who were considering investing significant sums with his firm. I wanted these prospects to witness his exposure as a fraud before they could lose their money to his schemes. Walking into Gregory's office felt surreal as I saw the business empire that I'd helped him build and that he was using to commit crimes against innocent investors. Priscilla was sitting at the reception desk wearing expensive jewelry that had probably been purchased with stolen client funds. She looked shocked to see me, but tried to maintain her professional composure. I told Priscilla that I needed to speak with Gregory immediately about urgent legal matters related to our divorce proceedings. She seemed nervous about my presence, but couldn't refuse my request without causing a scene in front of the clients who were waiting in the reception area. Gregory emerged from his office looking confident and successful as he prepared to pitch his services to potential victims. His expression changed completely when he saw me standing there with an official-looking document in my hand. He could tell immediately that something serious was happening. I handed Gregory the SEC complaint and told him loudly enough for everyone in the office to hear, "This documents your securities violations and theft of client funds. I've already submitted copies to the SEC and the State Attorney General's office. Your career is over." The color drained from Gregory's face as he scanned the first page of the complaint and realized that I discovered his illegal activities. The potential clients in the reception area started looking confused and concerned as they processed what they'd just witnessed. Priscilla was staring at the document like it contained her own death sentence. Gregory tried to maintain his composure and suggested that we discuss this matter privately in his office. But I refused to give him the opportunity to minimize or explain away his crimes. I said loudly, "There's nothing to discuss. You've been stealing from clients for years, and I have proof of everything." The potential clients immediately left the office, canceling their appointments and taking their money elsewhere. Word spread quickly through the building, and within hours, everyone in the local financial community knew that Gregory was under investigation for securities fraud. His reputation was destroyed instantly and permanently. Within a week, the SEC had frozen Gregory's business accounts and begun a formal investigation of his activities. State regulators revoked his license to operate as a financial advisor, and federal prosecutors opened a criminal case that would eventually result in his imprisonment for wire fraud and securities violations. Priscilla was also implicated in the investigation as investigators discovered that she'd been helping Gregory cover up his illegal activities and had benefited financially from the stolen client funds. Her career in finance was ended before it really began, and she faced potential criminal charges as an accomplice to Gregory's schemes. The custody battle ended abruptly when Gregory was arrested and could no longer present himself as a stable parent worthy of custody rights. Sophia and Lucas came to live with me permanently, and we began rebuilding our family without the man who'd betrayed all of us so thoroughly. Gregory was ultimately sentenced to 8 years in federal prison for his financial crimes and ordered to pay restitution to the clients he'd defrauded. His business assets were liquidated to compensate victims, but many people still lost significant portions of their retirement savings due to his schemes. The children struggled initially with learning the truth about their father's criminal behavior, but eventually understood that exposing his crimes had been necessary to protect other families from financial devastation. They were proud that I'd had the courage to do the right thing, even though it was difficult and complicated. Looking back, I'm satisfied that I chose justice over personal comfort when I discovered Gregory's illegal activities. His betrayal of our family was bad enough, but his willingness to steal from innocent investors who trusted him with their life savings was unforgivable. He deserved every consequence that resulted from his choices. The experience taught me that some people will exploit every relationship and opportunity for personal gain, regardless of the harm they cause to others. Gregory had used my love and support to build a criminal enterprise that destroyed dozens of families financially. Exposing him was the most important thing I ever did,